Dear friends, English literature, Elizabethan and Jacobean drama, The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Short questions with answers, short questions 1 to 7. Question 1. Why is Antonio sad? At the very beginning of the play, The Merchant of Venice. Answer. At the very beginning of the play, Antonio is found in a sad mood. He himself doesn't know the reason of his sadness. According to his merchant friends, Solenio and Salerio, this sadness is due to Antonio's preoccupation with the thoughts of his ships out at the sea, or it might be due to love. Antonio laughs at these suggestions. According to his another friend, Gratiano, Antonio has too much respect upon the world, and this makes him so sad and serious. But to Antonio, in this stage of the world, his part is sad and tragic one. Since all explanations fails, Salerio says that Antonio is sad because he is not merry. In other words, Antonio's sadness is constitutional. Critics have given various explanations of Antonio's sadness. According to some critics, Antonio is sad because of his fear of losing Bassanio if Bassanio marries Portia. But some other critics think that this mysterious melancholy is due to the presentiment of evil that was soon to overtake Antonio. Thus, the sadness of Antonio remains something of puzzle, something unaccountable. Question 2. Who were the suitors of Portia? Summarize Portia's description of them. Answer. There are 6 suitors of Portia. They are, number 1, the Neapolitan prince, number 2, the County Palatine, number 3, the French lord Monsieur Libon, number 4, Falconbridge, the young baron of England, number 5, the Scottish lord, and number 6, the Duke of Saxony's nephew. Portia describes each of her suitors in her characteristic humorous vein in the following manner. Number 1. The Neapolitan prince is a silly, gay youngster who always talks about his horse. He prides himself on the fact that he can show his horse himself. He's a colt indeed. Number 2. The County Palatine has always a frowning look, or who never smiles even when he hears a merry tale. Number 3, French lord Monsieur Livon is to be regarded as a man man only because God made him a man. He talks more of horses than the Neapolitan prince and frowns more than the County Palatine. He has no distinct personality. To marry him is to marry 20 husbands. 4. Falconbridge, the young baron of England, is dumb though handsome. He is strangely dressed. Portia could not talk with him because her knowledge of English is very poor. Number 5. The Scottish lord has a neighborly feeling for the English baron. For once, the Englishman boxed him in his ear, and he, in his Christian charity, did not avenge it. 6. The young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew, is a dead drunkard. At his best, he is worse than a man, and he is worst. He is little better than a beast. Thus, Portia's description of her suitors shows the rich vein of humor in her. This humor is pleasant and not bitter or pungent. Question 3. What is Bassanio's request to Antonio? What does his request lead to? Answer. Bassanio wants to go to Belmont to try to win a rich and beautiful heiress as his wife. He needs enough money to equip himself for his journey to Belmont. So he requests his friend Antonio to lend him 3,000 ducats to fulfill his desire. As Antonio had no cash in hand at the time, Bassanio's request to Antonio leads him to Shylock to get a loan of 3,000 ducats to sign a bond that if Antonio, fails to repay this loan to Shylock within a period of 3 months, Shylock, would require the right to cut off a pound of flesh from any part of Antonio's body that he might like. Question 4. What are the wrongs and insults done by Antonio to Shylock? Answer. Shylock hates Antonio for a number of reasons. He hates Antonio because Antonio is a Christian while Shylock himself is a Jew. He hates Antonio also because Antonio has been bringing down the rate of interest in Venice by lending out money gratis. Many a time Antonio has chided Shylock for his practice of taking interest. He called Shylock a heathen who is damned, a cutthroat dog who charges high interests. Moreover, Antonio spat on Shylock's national dress in public places. In Antonio's eyes, Shylock had become an unholy thing. Antonio spat on Shylock's beard and kicked him like a dog without any scruple. Thus, Shylock hates Antonio for religious, commercial, racial, and personal reasons. Question 5. Describe the Bond episode in The Merchant of Venice. Answer. The Merchant of Venice consists of a series of improbable stories. The main plot, namely the Bond story, is one of the face of it. It is more of a fairy tale than a story of real life. Antonio's friend Bassanio needs about 3,000 ducats in order to be able to pay a visit to Belmont to try to win as his wife a rich and beautiful Lady Portia who lives there. Bassanio contacts Antonio and asks for a loan of 3,000 ducats, but Antonio had no cash in hand at the time because all his ships were sailing upon the seas and all his money was invested in the cargoes which they carry. However, he asks Bassanio to get a loan in his Antonio's name from some moneylender. Bassanio approaches Shylock, who, after a good deal of fuss, agrees to lend the money, imposing a tough condition on the Christian Antonio. The condition is that if Antonio fails to repay the amount within 3 months, Shylock would have the right to cut off a pound of flesh from any part of Antonio's body he likes. Shylock's motive in imposing this condition is that if at all Antonio, for some reason or other, fails to repay that loan, he, that is Shylock, would get an opportunity to kill Antonio by cutting off a pound of flesh from nearest Antonio's heart. Question 6. Why does Shylock lend money to Antonio despite the ill treatment to which the latter has been subjecting to? Answer. Shylock lends money to Antonio because he perceives an opportunity for taking revenge upon Antonio for Antonio's past ill treatment of him. Outwardly, he is doing a favor to Antonio, but inwardly, he has conceived a plan by which he might be able to take his revenge upon Antonio if luck favors him. He has thought of incorporating a pound of flesh clause in the bond in order to get a possible weapon of revenge in his hands. Question 7. Describe the casket story. Answer. Portia is the heroine of the play, The Merchant of Venice. She is fair and fairer than that word. She is not free to marry according to her heart's desire. Her father, at the time of his death, had laid down a condition that she should marry only the suitor who would choose the right casket from amongst 3 caskets made of gold, silver, and lead respectively. The right casket, according to her late father's will, is the one which contains Portia's picture. Anyone wanting to enter the contest in order to choose a casket has first to swear an oath that if he fails in the test, he would not disclose to anyone which casket he had chosen, and would furthermore give up all thought of marriage in his life. Some of the suitors who come to Belmont to go away without choosing a casket because they find the conditions for entering the contest to be too difficult and even forbidding. However, 2 illustrious suitors, the Prince of Morocco and the Prince of Aragon, do enter the contest. and they both fail as they choose the gold casket and silver casket respectively. Then comes Bassanio, who proves to be the winner in the contest of the casket by choosing the lead casket, which on being unlocked and opened is found to contain the beautiful Portia's beautiful picture. Thank you friends for watching my video.